All right, so today is February 12th, 2026. It is 11 a.m. Central Time. Let me just make sure that I did this correctly. So it's February 12th, 2026, and yes, it is 11 a.m. So the hearing that they had scheduled for the HOA thing finished, right? This is interesting. So this house, the 2218, has a W vehicle parked outside, what I call a whiskey vehicle. Anyhow, and we have here the pool guy. So this pool guy is another prolific one. Like this one is also very good. I mean, like it's equivalent to the blue truck that I saw like 2 days ago, that I got the plate. But anyhow, it was interesting. It was an interesting hearing. But let me tell you. Let me tell you what happened. So before I say anything, I have to tell you, I have not configured this judge in the pipeline. To be honest, like, so I have nothing really to say on the data side of things, right? This is a listener. Oh, this is amazing. TBW 8095, I think it is, and that's the guy on the house next to Gary Gray, and he has so basically he has a listener vehicle, an interceptor, right? So that white truck that he has is an interceptor. Imagine that. So yeah, so I have to tell you, I haven't configured this judge, right? Because I only became aware of this because they did this on paper, right? Like there was notified, and the service was faulty, like all these things, right? Defective. So really, I have not. How do I say this? I have not really configured that judge, right, in the pipeline. So really, from the data point of view, I don't know, right? Like I cannot say anything. But of course, I have configured the attorneys and field ending and the HOA, right? So I know that these lawsuits is a weapon, right? I know that. But anyhow, so what happened was, right? I joined the hearing, right? And I did something pretty interesting. I didn't really plan it, but I don't know. It felt like the natural thing to do, right? So let me tell you what the situation was, right? So and you can see this on in the document index 16 in that case, right? I don't have the case number with me, but if you look it up, you will see. So in that index 16, right, I show that I say basically, I'm filing this as a person, not as the company, and I'm filing this as a person, not as a company, but I want to say, so I want to show that the company is in good standing, right? And I attached I explained this before. I attached a certificate of revival from Delaware, and I stated facts, right? I'm not litigating the issue or filing a motion or anything. I'm just stating a fact that they didn't serve the corporation, right? They sent these papers to me personally, and I'm not the defendant. They should have served the corporation in Delaware, right? So anyhow, as I'm doing this, so this is interesting, right? Okay, so I filed that document, right, saying that those facts, and attaching to, like, entering into the record the proof that the corporation is in good standing, okay, and was in good standing all this time when they filed all this document, even when they filed the lawsuit, right? So there's no excuse for them to serve me personally, right? I'm not saying it, but it's obvious, right? If you read this document, that the service is faulty, is is defective. Okay. So. Yeah, sorry about that. It's just that the traffic is a bit odd. It's a bit weird. It feels like something is going on. Anyhow, so that's my dilemma, right? My dilemma in this hearing is that I'm not the corporation, and I'm not an attorney, and I'm not representing the corporation. I'm just appearing there because there's no attorney on record, because they never served the corporation, right? So they created a procedural crisis because they created a lawsuit, an order, and then a motion for contempt against an entity that was never served. And if the entity was not served, how can it retain a lawyer or an attorney to represent itself? It can't. So that violates the due process of the corporation, right? Because the corporation cannot have an attorney if it doesn't know that it's being sued, right? But they're moving forward with this thing to then find me personally in contempt. But anyhow, but my dilemma is, right, in this hearing, and something that I'm very aware of, is that I cannot litigate the issue, the substantive matter, because I'm not an attorney, and I'm not the corporation, and I'm not representing the corporation. So the interceptor here was Whiskey X-Ray Charlie 4507. So anyhow, that's the dilemma, right? I have to still get what I want, and what I want is, I don't want to win the case in this hearing. What I want is that they don't put me in jail, right? That they cannot move forward. That's my goal. That's my only goal here. I'm not here to win against Phil Denning. I'm gonna win against Phil Denning when I put him in jail, right? That's when I'm gonna win. But for now, I have to conform with, not being put in jail by Phil Denning and his attorneys. So anyhow, but I cannot litigate the issue, right? So I have to accomplish my goal of not being put in jail when all this thing is in motion without saying a word about the issue, right? Or all the issues, or any of the issues. So, my strategy was to be a pointer. My strategy was to be there and say, this is there is a document in the docket, number 16, that has the proof that the corporation, not even that the corporation, I'm just going to say that there is a document number 16, read it, right? That's all I was going to say. I wasn't even going to describe the contents of the document, because it's their job to read it. I don't have to read it for them. So my strategy was to be a live breathing pointer. So I was just going to point repeatedly at this document no matter what they did, right? Because that's the only thing I can do without falling into the trap of litigating. Because if I start litigating, then they're going to say, oh, so you are the corporation. You personally, not only the attorney of the corporation, you are pro se in this case. You are in contempt, and here's your jail cell. So, I'm not going to fall into that. So, but I did something interesting, right? So this is what I wanted to tell you. I don't know. It just occurred to me as I was waiting. Because I joined a little bit early, right, to make sure that, if they cut my internet, those things that they do, right, to prevent me from appearing and then find me in contempt without me being present, right? So I already had 3 different computers with 3 different internet connections set up in case they cut one of the connections, right? But anyhow, I joined early and they didn't cut the internet. And I'm saying that not because I'm guessing, but because they have done it before. Point in case, on January 22nd, after the hearing with Telfair, they cut my internet, right? My Infinity internet that is connected to this computer. So this already happened after a court proceeding. So I'm not gonna fall for that again, right? So that's why I set up the 2 other laptops and the 2 hotspots, right? To be able to, to work on this, even if they cut the internet, right? So I could still appear. That was my goal. So because of that, because I had to do all that extra setup, I started early. And I got there like 15 minutes early, right? Because I'm early, I'm in the waiting room, right? And there's 20 people in the waiting room, and the hearing is at 9 a.m., but it doesn't start at 9 a.m. And the time passes, right? At this point, it's like 9:12, right? So 12 minutes already into the hour, and the hearing is not yet started, right? So it occurred to me the following, right? Well, I know they are monitoring this internet. I mean, I'm talking about the Chinese, right? Really, I'm not talking about these attorneys, right? But I mean, the attorneys get the information, but the ones that are doing the monitoring is the Chinese, right? The Communist Party of China. So I know they're monitoring the connection and that they have this almost real-time communication system with the lawyers, right? So it occurred to me that really, for me, there is no need to even litigate the issue in court because I can tell them my arguments via the connection, right? I mean, if I can let them see that I can destroy them if they move forward, they will be deterred, which is my goal. My goal is not to win the dispute, right? My win is to let them see that I will destroy them if they move forward, right? So they don't put me in jail. My goal is not to be put in jail. That's my only goal, right? So it occurred to me the following. What I have to do is do something that lets them see that I am already aware that I can put them, all of them, in jail. I mean, not me personally. I have no power to put anybody in jail, but I can expose these as a serious series of crimes that would land them, all of them, in jail, right? By the authorities. The authorities could put them in jail, right, if they move forward. That's what I wanted to, that was my argument, right? But I could not make this argument in the court itself because it would turn me into a proselitigant, right? If I say one word about, Diosdado Cabello or the Chinese or whatever, or even Phil Denning, right? If I say, Phil Denning is harassing me, that turns me into a proselitigant in this case. So I can't say that, right? So what I did, I started a chat with Gemini, with the AI that Google has. And I started asking about legal and criminal liability for doing things like creating a legal procedure against a plaintiff and serving a wrong address on purpose to then enter a default judgment to then find that person in contempt because they were never served. That person or entity, in this case, is a company, right? But that is a crime. I mean, and this is not a novel crime. Like, this has been done thousands, maybe tens of thousands of times through the years, right, in the different jurisdictions. So much so that there are procedural rules in the Texas Code of Civil Procedure exactly to prevent this from happening, right? So there are rules put in place in the judiciary system in Texas that put the burden of checking that the service was correct on the clerk and on the judge. So the clerk cannot schedule that hearing without verifying that the entity was served. And they obviously did not do that because they had to check the corporate registry and they would have seen that this entity doesn't exist in Texas. It's not a Texas entity. So that address cannot be the service address. But they obviously didn't do that to allow the lawyers to proceed, right? So basically the clerk disabled the fail check, right? The fail safe against this procedural trick, right? To abuse the court, to then enable the attorneys to do it, right? So it's a conspiracy, really. It's not a conspiracy theory, it's a criminal conspiracy. That's what it is, right? It's the clerk failing to perform their ministerial duty to then enable a group of criminal lawyers. And when I say criminal lawyers, I don't mean that they're lawyers that defend criminals. I mean that they're lawyers and they commit crimes, right? So it's the clerk failing to perform their ministerial duty of checking that the proof of service is correct before even scheduling the first hearing months ago, right? The clerk fails to perform that duty, that is the fail safe, right? And then the lawyers can move forward, right? And can abuse the court and use it as a weapon. And with this, they can put anybody in jail. All they have to do is initiate a legal procedure, serve a wrong address, the clerk fails to check, and then they enter an order in default, a default order, and then they schedule a hearing for contempt. And then the person is in jail, So it's basically a way to put anybody in jail without due process, right? And the responsible person, I would argue, the most guilty person here is the clerk, because it was the clerk's duty to prevent this from even happening, and they didn't do it on purpose, right? So anyhow, but beyond the litigation part of it, what I want to tell you is that I started having this chat with Gemini to let them know, I mean the Chinese, right? Because I know they have the internet capture. To let them know that I know all this. I mean, I wasn't discovering this morning. I have known this for months, right? Through the legal vaccine pipeline, right? So I start having this chat, but the intention with the chat is not for me to learn. The intention of the chat is for me to give them my arguments of how I am going to help bring criminal charges against all of them if they move forward, right? So after I did that, the hearing started, right? And then, it was a very normal hearing. Everybody was happy. It was actually very pleasant. The guy, the judge is a very, how do you say this? Very friendly, right? He was friendly towards everybody, including me, right? So I mean, it was a good experience in that sense, right? But anyhow, so the hearing starts, right? Like, of course, I'm at the end of the queue, right? Like, I had to wait like an hour and a half. Then finally, it's our turn, and the attorney for Phil Denning, this Robert Markel Weinberg Haley Butler PC attorney, that has been sending me harassing letters and things for a year. It's the same guy. He has a last name that sounds African, right? Like from, I don't know. I would say he's African, or his parents were Africans from Africa. He speaks, right? And then he starts basically, well, I mean, I got my dose of discrediting, right? Like, he starts talking about all the things, the yard, the grass, like, painting this picture that this property is not maintained, right? And this is the reason for this. I mean, in a way to legitimize, I imagine, right? The whole thing. I mean, I understand that. But also, in all these things, he always referred to the defendant, Reynaldo Aguiar, right? So he was calling me the defendant, which is not true. The defendant is not Reynaldo Aguiar, it's the corporation, right? But remember, if I start saying, no, I'm not the defendant, objection. If I say the word objection, I'm fried, right? Because then I'm engaging on the litigation and I'm becoming a proseliticant, right? So, but he made the point to call me the defendant, Reynaldo Aguiar, and that Reynaldo Aguiar was served, like he said all these things, which is, he's admitting that he served the wrong entity. He's saying on the record, if you think about it, right, it's amateurish. He's saying on the record that he served Reynaldo Aguiar, and Reynaldo Aguiar is obviously not a party on this lawsuit. So he's admitting on the record that he served the wrong party. And that is evidence against the clerk, because the clerk should have checked all this, right? So, I mean, he is destroying himself and throwing the clerk in jail, probably, right? Because he's entering hard evidence into this record that is recorded on WebEx, on the WebEx hearing. So I mean, it was a disaster from that point of view. I mean, for their side, right? Like, they basically created evidence against the clerk, which is the clerk that I'm already suing in federal court. So he's giving me evidence for the federal trial. Now I have more evidence, right, against the clerk. Anyhow, but he made the point of saying the words Reynaldo, the phrase, right? Reynaldo Aguiar and defendant together at least 8 times in a matter of a minute, right? I think the intention was to bait me into engaging, right, on whether the service was correct or not. I'm not going to even get there, right? Because if I start arguing about the service, I'm becoming a proseliticant, right? And then I'm fried. So anyhow, I didn't, and he was saying all these things, discrediting me, right? Like saying, well, the defendant, Reynaldo Aguiar, has been served and he hasn't mown the lawn and, the sign, and he has to, and he gave me this other one. He said that I had to, that they were seeking this show cause hearing to force the defendant, Reynaldo Aguiar, to obtain an architectural review and approval by the Lake Point Estates for the signs. So he is giving me, on the record, ammunition against the wife of Larry Ryan, because the head of the chair of the Architectural Review Committee is the wife of Larry Ryan, and he's saying directly on the record that she is involved in this lawsuit, and that she's part of the reason why I'm in that hearing that day, right? So, I mean, it could have gone better for me, because he gave me evidence against 2 key defendants in the federal lawsuit. And he put that evidence in the record, in an official record of Fort Bend County. that it's in WebEx as well for the FBI to fetch. So that's her evidence against the clerk and her evidence against the wife of Larry Ryan. I think her name is Janie, but the spelling is a bit odd, but it's Janie Ryan, right? So, I mean, it was amazing. It was amazing. But anyhow, so then oh, this is the other thing I think, right? When I joined the other thing I did, when I joined the hearing, in the WebEx asks you your name, right? So I entered Reynaldo J. Aguiar-Marcano, matching exactly the name in the lawsuit of Telfair, because this is another thing they did. In the Telfair lawsuit, they call me Reynaldo J. Aguiar-Marcano, but in this one, they call me Reynaldo Aguiar, right? So that's to kind of disjoin the record, right? Like so if an investigator looks for action against me in this Fort Bend County courts, they don't find the two records together, right? I guess that's what they're trying to do with that, right? So, but I made sure to put my name in full as it appears on the Telfair case, right? On the case before Telfair. And then I made a note in between parentheses saying appearing in individual capacity as director of the corporation, right? So to make it clear on the WebEx record that I'm not an attorney, right? So, after all this thing, right, when they see that I'm not going to take the bait of arguing about whether the service was defective or not, then the judge says, well, and we have to talk about a couple of issues you have, Reynaldo Aguiar, right? So he starts talking to me, and I mean, he starts doing the thing where like, well, and I've noticed that you're saying that you are individually appearing, and then he was doing this thing with his hands like quoting, like when you are like ironically quoting somebody, you know what I mean? Like when you say, oh yes, and you said so and so, right? And you do this thing with your hands, right? So he did that, while he was saying that I was stating that I was appearing in individual capacity, right? So he was kind of making fun of me, right? He was being ironic, right? Like saying that I'm crazy, right? For even bringing this up, right? That is a non-issue, right? I think that's the message. That this is not like whether I'm appearing on individual capacity or not is a non-issue. That's the message. So that they were going to find me personally in contempt. I think that's the meta message that he wants to do with that, right? That was never the intention, right? That I'm imagining all this. Maybe I'm delusional, right? Because if you put that in context with what the attorney just said, that the lawn is unmaintained, that this is a disaster of a property and all that, you think this person is a schizophrenic, right? Which is good for Greg Abbott. So anyhow, he did that, right? And then he said, well, and you are not an attorney, and you cannot represent the company, right? That this is coming from the judge, right? Which is exactly what I want. This is exactly the outcome I want. I want to not be there representing anybody. I don't want to even be there, right? So he says exactly what I want, and then he says, but we're going to, have a hearing for this on March 24th, and he schedules the hearing, which is this. I mean, what he did was to schedule the same hearing that was supposed to happen today. Like if you hear what he said, it's the same hearing, show cause. It's the same hearing. And I checked the document that the notice of hearing they sent me. So he basically rescheduled the same hearing, right? But the way it's phrased, and this is kind of tricky, right? But if you read the transcript, you will see that the way he phrased it, it sounds like that the objective of this hearing today was to schedule that hearing, right? So the way he said it sounds like today wasn't the show cause hearing. It was a hearing to get a show cause hearing, right? Which is not true. That's not what the notice of hearing says, and that's not what the motion for contempt says, right? This was a hearing for a motion for contempt. But like he played it that way. I think it's a way to downplay what was really happening, right? Or what they intended to do originally, right? Before the debacle of the registered agent, right? Showing that the corporation was in good standing all this time. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So the judge, gave me that lecture that I need an attorney, and he said, and then he made a point that was interesting. He said, you're not an attorney, and in Texas it's illegal. He mentioned it's illegal to represent a company if you're not an attorney, right? So he even gave me legal protection against anything they could plan with this in the future. Now I have a legal shield coming from a judge, from the bench. I got against any action personally against me by Phil Denning. I mean, this is an amazing outcome. But the interesting thing is that he said that it's illegal to represent the company if you're not an attorney, and therefore I'm not going to even read the documents that you file, right? So what he's really saying is, I haven't read the document in the 16 and I'm not going to read it. Meaning the proof, the offer of proof that I filed showing that the company is in a good stand, right? So in a way, it could be a veiled threat, right? Like, well, it's like this document doesn't even exist in the record. If I'm not gonna read it, right? I don't have any reason to know that the company is in good standing. And then I can find you personally in contempt, maybe, right, on the 24th. It could be, right? But I mean, from here to there, I have time to retain counsel, right? For the corporation. I mean, the corporation has time to retain counsel. And as a director of the corporation, I have time to secure it. But he made that point, right? So I guess, right, what he did was to say, I haven't read this. Because, if he read it, he would already have been somehow liable, because he's engaging with me on a matter that he knows is fraudulent. I mean, if he read that, the responsibility of checking that the service was perfected lies on the clerk and the judge as well. Like, he cannot enter an order without checking this, right? Or at least checking with the clerk that the clerk checked this, right? I imagine. Because they are the fail-safe against this trick. So he cannot acknowledge that document, the offer of proof, because then he would be obliged immediately to dismiss the case. Immediately. But he would have a ministerial duty to vacate his own order without me even asking, right? And to terminate the case. And to ask the attorney to refile if needed, right? Against the right entity on the proper venue, right? Because there is a jurisdiction question here. Does he have to sue this company in Delaware, or does he have to sue the company here, right? That move was a move to protect the lawsuit, I believe, right? More than, maybe they can also use that in the future to put me in jail, but more than that, I think it's a measure to protect the lawsuit, which tells me their mindset, right? Their mindset is, we are out of ammunition. Yeah? We don't have any weapons left. Because if they're trying to protect this dummy lawsuit that I can easily disarm, and that the judge himself is giving me a shield against personally, right? Because he just said from the bench, it's illegal for a person to represent the company, so how can they find me personally liable, right? They have to pursue this against the company. And this allows me to directly attack the service itself, because the judge is saying that the service is invalid. I mean, it's a slam dunk, right? So I don't know. I don't think I even have to go to a hearing, but because, I think there is a way. I have to check with in the legal vaccine pipeline, but I think there is a way I can even, through a lawyer, right? I cannot do this as a person, but through a lawyer, file a 166A motion asking the judge to dismiss this, because there was never a service. There was never valid service for anything, not even for the first order of judgment, default judgment that they entered, right? And the judge already said on the record that he follows Rule 166A. So if he doesn't follow it for me, then that would be discrimination. He would be discriminating against me because he said that he follows this rule already, right? There is a rule that hasn't been confirmed by the Supreme Court, but he follows it. He said that on the record, right? So I'm gonna run the legal vaccine pipeline to see if I can find one of those 166 through an attorney, right? I'm gonna probably retain an attorney to just file the document that I produce. Or, well, ask them. Like, I have to consult the corporation needs to consult a lawyer. So I'll probably produce the document and show it to the attorney of the corporation to see what they think, right? And if they think it's appropriate, they will file it. And then the judge will have to review it and see. Then the other party has to prove that they serve the corporation, which they can prove because they didn't serve the corporation, right? So they will have to dismiss the case anyway, right? But the fact that they're trying to protect the case in this manner tells me that they're feeling, the general state of mind is that they're out of ammunition. Which tells me that they feel defeated on the trial case in family court. Speaking of that, I had a thought. I was doing QA on, I think it was one of the recent demos, right, in which I talked about the comment I was reviewing that led to this thought is that my former partner, when she came to visit last Thursday with the kid, she made the comment, "Oh, you cut the grass," right? And that led me to think that she may be aware of the legal strategy, right? On their side. I mean, on the Phil Denning / Robert Mueller / HOA side. Because she showed interest in the loan, in the status of the loan immediately as she exited the vehicle, right? And this thing with the tractor happened that day. So, like or the day after, right? So it suggested to me that she was aware, right? But that's not what I want to say. What I want to say is that thought that she was aware, I think also means something very interesting. It is that her loyalty is wearing thin, right? Because think about it. If the network, say, William Cal Adams or whoever is that is passing information to her, right? Her mother, Suleima, I don't know. Suleima Villamizar. Imagine that Suleima Villamizar is passing information to her, right? It has to be somebody that is close, right? And trusted. But she must be getting information from the lawyers, right? Directly or indirectly, because she knows the strategy, right? But think about it. Why? I mean, what would be the motivation of the lawyers for telling her? Although she's central to the whole thing, she's a low-level player, right? I mean, compared to the federal judges or to the, or to the other judges. I mean, my former partner, in all things considered, is a low-level operative, right? So why would they tell her the high-level legal strategy to put me in prison? The only reason I can think of is that she's getting desperate, her loyalty is wearing thin, and she had already expressed multiple times her desire to quit, to withdraw the lawsuit. Because she wants out, right? She's seeing liability on her and her family, and she wants out, right? So the way that they assure her loyalty is by telling her, don't worry, we're going to put him in jail with the lawsuit with the HOA, and this is how we're going to do it. Like, they have to show her that it's a plan that will work. They have to convince her, right? I mean, it's not like they're going to tell her, oh, we're going to put him in jail, right? Because she's going to say, well, you have told me this multiple times over the last year, and he's still walking around laughing like a happy camper, right? And making jokes and recording videos. So, how is that you're going to put him in jail this time, right? I imagine that's probably what triggered the decision of disclosing the plan to her. But it's a mistake because now she's aware of the plan. And if she's questioned and pressured by expert interrogators, like, for example, from the FBI, she's going to tell them how she learned the plan. And that shows collusion between Robert Mueller and Gloria Espina, right? Or Suleima Molero, or William Cal Adams. Entities that are supposedly, through all this time, disconnected, supposedly, right? But the point that will show collusion is her knowledge of the lawsuit of the HOA, right? And the strategy to find me in contempt. So I don't know. I think that that's the thing that I couldn't grasp when I said that. I knew that there was something deeper, but I didn't know what it was. Is that the only reason why they would have disclosed that information is because she had attempted to quit already the whole effort, right? And return the child. So her state of mind right now is she wants to return the child, right? But they are assuring her compliance by giving her assurances that I will lose my freedom and I will not be able to pursue legal action against any of them, right? So they are assuring her that they are going to be able to obstruct justice by depriving me of my liberty. That's the only explanation I can see. I guess I don't know. I don't know if what I'm saying is clear, right? But imagine for a second, right? I don't know. I'm going to give you a counter example on the other side, right? On my side. Imagine that my informant has a plan to give a coup d'etat to Diosdado Cabello, right? My informant, right? The Venezuelan informant. He passes me information, right? But he doesn't tell me his strategy. He doesn't tell me what he's doing. He doesn't tell me how he's going to depose Diosdado. Like, he doesn't tell me any of that because that's his business. From his perspective, I am a pawn, right? That he's playing. Why would he tell me what he's going to do to Diosdado Cabello or how he's going to do it or who else he's engaging? Like, he doesn't have to tell me any of that, right? Because I'm his pawn. He's using me, right, in a way, to achieve his goals. So I think the same applies here on their side. They are using her to achieve their goals. They don't have any real need to tell her anything about the legal strategy or what they're doing in all these different courts or the decisions that the judges are making, right? But if they took that step, it was because they saw the need to take that step. They saw that she was quitting, basically, right? That she wanted to return the child. And they can't allow that to happen. So my contention would be that at this point, the ones that are furthering the enterprise are the judges, right? And the attorneys. It's not even, it's not even the SEBIN. At this point, it's the attorneys, right? Because the effort the enterprise could have been broken at this point, but it is still functioning because they are assuring her compliance by promising her that they will put me in jail with the HOA lawsuit, for example, right? Because there's no other way she can explain her knowledge of that lawsuit and the strategy, right? So I don't know, I think all this line of thinking just confirms to me that if there is a weak link in all of this is Gloria, right? Or Suleiman, right? Whatever the name is. But also I have to say something to, in case, right? The authorities are following this puts her life at risk, right? Because they could harm her before she could talk. And I'm talking about the lawyers and the judges, right? That see liability and see that they could go to jail. So what they could do is, destroy the evidence as they always do. And how do they destroy the evidence in this case? Getting rid of Gloria, right? Or Suleiman, well, whoever she's called. However she's called. So I think this puts her life in danger, really, directly, right? Because she could talk. So I don't know. I would invite authorities to, keep an eye on her, on her food, on the things that she buys, to make sure that they don't tamper with the food, right? The coffee and things like that. She also likes to drink coffee, right? And we know that that's a prime vector for attack because it's an addiction, right? It's a substance that is addictive. If you're a coffee drinker, you are forced to drink coffee, at the frequency that you do, right? Yes. So I would suggest, if I may, right? I don't mean to overstep, but I see a human life that could be in danger. I mean, I see the situation, and what I see is somebody who is in danger, right? Immediate danger. And I plead to authorities to, if it's within your reach and means, try to protect her, right? Yeah, but so, going back to the thing with the hearing, I think overall, it was a tremendous success, right? Because I got the outcome I wanted. I got forever shield against, personally, right? Personal shield coming from the bench, from the mouth of the judge, against any personal action by Phil Denning using this, right, in the future. I got a new hearing for March 24. I got the opportunity for the company to retain counsel as it should, and I got hard evidence on the record that Jenny Ryan is directly involved in this, in the legal attack. Right? And remember, Jenny Ryan is the wife of Larry Ryan, who is the man that caused my water to almost be cut off. Right? So husband and wife, they're both working together on this project. So I mean, I could not have asked for more than what they gave me today. So I think with that happy thought, I'm going to end this demo 108 for now. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll see you on the next one. Yes, so I also wanted to tell you something that I thought of while doing QA on the one of the previous demos. So I made a comment in one of those demos about a pattern observed through the camera vision system that I have. The pattern is that two vehicles pass my vehicle on a highway they're traveling at the exact same speed, and they pass my vehicle at the exact same time. And I asked in that demo myself that question of, what could they possibly be doing? I mean, why pass two vehicles at the same time? Next to my vehicle, right? I mean, if they want to tag me, they could tag me with only one vehicle. Why pass two, right? And I had a couple of hypotheses, but there's another hypothesis that I thought of after the fact, that I don't know. I don't know if this would be the case, right? To be honest, I don't know, but could be. I don't know. And this comes from the fact that in the past, the Chinese, specifically the Chinese agents on the house next to my house at Lake Point Estates, the one that is, their house is 2218 Britton Ridge Drive, Katy, Texas 77494. Those agents in the past, at peak points in the conflict, when I move the computers or move the servers from one place to another, they always bring a van, like a white van that has all windows. Like it's one, I don't know how to describe it, I don't know the model, but it's one of those vans that are usually used for transport of personnel, that the windows are oversized. And the windows in these particular vans are pitch black, like the tainted film is pitch black. And they do this thing where they pass in front of the house very slowly, and at the same time that they're passing in front of the house with this van, on the back of the property they pass another vehicle, which is a truck that is very tall, right? And I think it's a technology to scan the interior of the house, like, I don't know, like with M-Wave or something like that, right? Like to see where the servers are. And I've documented this on the PayPal Mafia Google Storage Pocket. It's in there. Like there's a couple of posts about this technology that they have. They have a way to see the inside. I don't know with what resolution, but obviously they have something like that, right? To see where are the people located in the house, or to see, because I don't know anything about this field, so I don't know what that technology really is, right? But I imagine somebody in the military would know what I'm talking about, right? This thing is like if I can describe it, right? It's like an X-ray, right? I don't think the technology is based on X-ray. It's something else, probably M-Wave or something, but the same idea, right? So you fire a signal, not X-ray, but something else, on a direction, and on the other direction you have a sensor, right? Or like in the case of an X-ray, it's usually those plates. When you go get an X-ray, they put you on the machine, and on the other side of you, like on the other, they point at you with the X-ray gun, right? And on the other side of you, so on the other side, on the exiting side of the ray, there is a plate that basically gets beamed, and that is what produces the image, right? So the same idea, I believe they fire the ray or whatever it is, right, the signal, with the van in front of my house, and then with the truck on the back they capture what leaks, right? And in that way they can detect things like metal objects or people. I don't know, right? I don't know the capabilities of this, right? But I know that they have this technology. So it occurred to me that the two cars passing on the two sides of my car at the same exact speed could be the same, right? Could be them scanning the interior of the car in this way to see what is that I have inside, right? To see if I have the super ear installed, for example, right? To see if I'm using the super ear, to see if I have, a heavy duty server, like to see what is inside, because they don't have eyes inside, right? They have ears, but they don't have eyes. So it could be that. It could be a way to scan the interior visually of the vehicle. But I don't know. It's just a hunch. I don't have any proof. And in fact, if I have anything on this topic, it's ignorance. I don't know exactly what that technology is, right? But I thought I should record this just in case. Okay, so this is another segment. So the system picked up certain spots to communicate, because I need to receive and send some things. And it picked this interesting spot, right, where there's three antennas actually, within 500 feet. And there is this park, right, that it's oddly located. Because this isn't a really residential area, it's more like an industrial park next to a highway, right? So it's a children's playground. Who's going to bring their children to play here? It's absurd. But this park has not one, not two, but three baseball fields, which are a marker. And I know that. I've known that for more than a year. And it has this huge lot in front, right? But the millionaires are really the ones that live behind the park, which if you look at the houses, they look like very low cost, very humble housing. But those people have millions of points marked in the index. So those are the agents, the ones that are behind the baseball field. It's like 4 houses, right? So they're guarding those 4 houses with all this infrastructure, and they have their own, not 1 but 2 antennas, 3 antennas actually, and it's on a power line. So they also have probably, I imagine, right? They also have the modem, the Robert Mueller type of modem. So these people are important. I mean, I'm trying to see if there is a school or something, but I don't see anything really. So this is, so I'm at E. Hardy Road on the 15,400 block, more or less. Yeah, so these houses are on my right, on the right channel over here. So this is Seedling, Seedling Drive, Seedling Drive. So you can see, right? They're humble houses, but you know, they even have chickens on the front yard. You know, but don't be fooled by that. Don't be fooled by that. And they have shipping containers on the backyard, which is interesting on itself. And that's the other thing I noticed. There is one of these houses has a roof that is painted on bright orange. I remember when we talk about the use of a specific colors for markers, right, in the satellite imagery. So it would be these things that say mesquite. Oh, it's a mesquite, like a temple, right? That makes sense. That explains it. So this temple is a hub, and they have, you know, surveillance vehicles on the back. Yeah, I mean, this is an important place, and if I can give my opinion, I would think that this is, you know, this is hot. In any way you look at it, even the vehicles that are parked on they get flagged by the phone. I mean, the vehicles that are randomly parked are super prominent. Okay, so this is Salter Road. This is where the other antenna is, more or less, I think, the 3rd antenna, right? And that guy on that gray compact is just watching me, right? Like he's seeing where I'm going. Now, what I don't see visible is the antennas. I haven't seen one. I mean the dishes, right? Not the cellular antennas, but the other antennas. Okay, Losa Drive. So this is Blue Goat Landscaping Services. Ah, okay. So this must be very important landscapers, you know. I see. And note that they're not actively intercepting me, right? In this area. Oh, they brought one of these cards. Nice. Now, let me tell you, here I see in the map an important marker. I mean, this has to be a marker. The shape and the color, you know, it's at this point I kind of have developed a sense, right? And it is on this corner. What is this? So you look at that fence, right? So they have a super tall fence that could be probably, I would imagine, right, 14 feet or something like that. It looks like a military facility, right? You cannot see what is inside. But if you look at the image on the satellite, it looks like a bunch of like a bunch of cars, right, are in there, and sand. I don't know, some sort of factory or something, right? But the fact that it's obstructing the view to the inside with such intensity, right, in a way, is on itself interesting. And it has a person in a car here with a phone, like, so it has a manned security guard, right? Like, so this is like a, I don't know, like I don't know if this is common in this country, but in Venezuela, suppose a general, right? So if you pass in front of the house of a general or somebody that is high up in the military, they would have outside of their house a person that is usually a military person, like a, you know, like a soldier, or like, I don't know, like a low-ranking military officer, dressed in civilian clothes, parked in a car, like inside of the car, like just watching the house. Like it's like a security guard on a car, but that person is armed and he's a military officer. It's just that he's dressed as a civilian. This feels like that, right? And this facility looks like something. I mean, I don't know what is inside because I can't see, but it's something very important. And it has a huge empty lot next to it, which is a prominence marker. And the size of the lot is proportional to how prominent it is. So, I mean, this is something that is very important. I don't know what it is, and I don't want to speculate, but it's something that is very, very important, and that explains the surroundings, right? Like the oddities that I see in the surrounding could be explained by this thing in here. Now, interestingly, and this is interesting, that guy that is parked outside of this thing, right, that we don't know what it is. By the way, this thing is in Dolewood, note the wood marker, so it's spelled DOWLWOOD Drive. I mean, these people have trash on the front yards, like, you know, broken vehicles, and like it looks like an apocalyptic scene. I wonder what Phil Denning would do to these people, you know. Yeah, I mean, if this was like Pone States, and they have all these vehicles here parked strategically, right? But what I was going to tell you is that that man that is parked outside that thing, right, that we don't know what it is, his car does not have the Chinese espionage machine. It doesn't have it, like, at least not behind the rear view mirror. And that's interesting. It makes me wonder if it's an effort to conceal that this is a thing, right? Which would mean that they are already hiding the espionage machine, right? Because they know that it has been exposed. Or that is just a standard procedure that if it's such a high, yeah, so it's something that has sand and vehicles inside. If it's something that is so important, it is a standard procedure that there must be nothing that could be tied back to the Chinese, right? Something like that. Like, for example, the lack of the espionage machines in the vehicles, because it's not the first one that I see that doesn't have the espionage machine in this area. I mean, so it's possible, right? So this particular vehicle here is, I don't know if I can get the plate. I probably can't. I mean, I can get it through the system, but I just want to read it to have it recorded in this. So it's Golf Frank 0441. And that is interesting. I don't think there are, in this area, right? I don't think there are many plates with white background, Texas plates with white backgrounds that start with G. I don't think there are many. I mean, there are some, but there are not many. The plates in this area, at least in Katy, right, that start with G are usually the ones with the black background, and that is a marker. But this one is white and it starts with G, and I think that combination is unusual. So I don't know. It's something to think about. I'll look it up in the system, right, to see how many of those I have. But I think it's not common. It's rare. And note how they're not really actively following me, right? In this area. I mean, that also confirms that this is an important place, an important hub. So I think I should definitely bring the super ear to this area. Although I don't see any dishes. That's the other thing. I don't see any. I don't know. It feels like this is an area that I need to debug. United Rentals is on the... And this is interesting in itself. So this property on the corner is United Rentals, right? United being the United marker, and we know. See, and it's an storage rental facility, and the containers are very well painted. You know, like what we were talking about yesterday. They're pristine. These happen to be gray, beige, and brown, the ones that I can see from here. Right. So I mean, so this in itself could be a marker, and you know the way they arrange the containers, of course. I mean, and if you think about it, right, the fact that, I mean, we talked about this yesterday, right? Like, I mean, this would make perfect sense if this is such an important area, and they're communicating statuses using the containers and the objects of color of that size. It would be in perfect sense that this storage facility of containers is here, because that would give them the pretext to rearrange them, to communicate a status about this area. I mean, there is something important here, that is for sure. Like, everything points in that direction. Like, there is something. It feels military, to be honest with you. I'm not a military person. I've never served in the military, to be honest with you, and I'm ashamed to say that. Back home, it wasn't mandatory at that time, and I was never called to serve. So I didn't do military service, but so I don't know, right? I might be wrong here, but intuitively, right, entirely as a person, this area feels like a military base. That's what it feels like. And seeing all these things, including the message board with the containers, right, perfectly painted, it's just too obvious, right? I mean, to me at this point, this is obvious. So this is United Rentals. So I mean, and if this is the case, this is probably a pattern. I mean, it's not like they're doing this here alone, right? So what we have to do is look for United Rentals places across the country. and try to find similar layouts, similar to this, right? Land layouts and distribution, density of property to land. Right? That's a giveaway. If this is the case, this is trivial to find with technology. And I don't know, excuse my ignorance, right? Because I can't help but notice that we are close to the airport, right? So I ask myself if there is a relationship between containers and airports. I mean, can you put a container into a plane? I don't know the answer to this. Are there any planes that are able to carry a full container? Like, just put it in, right? I don't know. Because I imagine this facility would make more sense near a seaport, not an airport, right? But I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe there's a way to do this. I don't know. Oh, so we're on the back of the FedEx. Imagine that. Of course, I imagine me being here, they must be thinking I'm going to file something with the Supreme Court, right? But no, that's not what I'm here. I'm here just to send messages. I mean, digital messages, not documents. I don't know. I might be wrong, right? But maybe what's important to be next to the airport is not the containers, but the agents, right? So I would check if these people that have these properties registered have any relationship to the airport or customs or anything in there, right? Because that could be the key, right? That could be the relationship, and with the importance of the location. The importance of the location could be due to the proximity to the airport.
Now turn right onto North Sam Houston Parkway East.
But not because of the containers, but because of the agents that have a function inside of the airport. I'm gonna move because they're listening to what I say. With those two cars.
In 1,000 feet, turn left onto Benmer Drive. Now turn left onto Benmer Drive. Now turn left onto Bradfield Road. In 500 feet, make a U-turn to stay on West Hardy Road. Now make a U-turn to stay on West Hardy Road.
Yeah, but what is interesting is that there's no antennas in there. I mean, no. I'm gonna get the plate of this guy because he was just lurking there, waiting. A ver, ganoso. A ver. Creo que me jodieron porque está caliente, ¿no? Lo tienen ahí. Porque está caliente, ¿no? No sé, marico, lo voy a preguntar a este huevo. Puede ser. Dice que sí, me lo tomo, si no, no. Alright. Let's keep going.
Now turn right onto West Harding Road. Now turn right onto North San Houston Parkway East.
Uh-oh.
In 1,000 feet, take the Texas 8 West, North San Houston Toll Road. Now take the Texas 8 West.
Another random thought that I had is about the colors of the cars, okay? And there's a few demos in which I talk about this, like how they probably use the colors and some other features of the car as secondary features, like besides the license plate, to detect or classify the vehicles, right, into functions. This is explained in more detail in a demo before, but because I've been talking about the use of trademark colors to do computer vision recognition from satellites, right? So the thought crossed my mind that maybe, I mean, if they already have that technology, right, to recognize colors in an image, from a satellite, right? They could use the same technology to recognize specific trademark colors in vehicles. All they have to do is change the input. It's the exact same system, right? But instead of feeding it images of satellite images, you feed them frames from the computer vision cameras they have on the cars. So this led me to ask myself the question, and this is something I have to check, right? Maybe I can check this on my own footage through software, right? Like write a pipeline to do this. But check if there are any vehicles on the roads that are painted on trademark colors, right? Like, for example, are there any vehicles that are target red? Or are there any, non-commercial vehicles that are John Deere green or Caterpillar yellow, right? Because this could be an ingenious way to mark super important agents or vehicles that are transporting something important of value to them in plain sight, without even having to write one line of code. All they have to do is change the input into that other system that they have, and it would be picked up as an important item, right? And they could also do this to encode meaning into the frames. Why? How? Well, because the cars are mobile. Like, they can position 3 cars of 3 different trademark colors, and that has a meaning, right? I mean, if they can position them in a specific way in a frame, that has a meaning. That could be an encoder. That would be high precision, recognizable even by humans, and untraceable, right? But the key would be the use of trademark colors, or yeah, they have to be trademark, because otherwise any manufacturer or anybody could paint their car on that color, right? And that could create a serious problem. You know, if somebody has the idea to, somebody that is not an agent has the idea to paint their own car in this specific color that you're looking for, it could confuse your system and it could cause grave damage, you know, to you. So it has to be a trademark color, like a target red, right? But I don't know, because I haven't, you know, this requires computer vision to detect it, because you have to, like, I don't know. I mean, this brings other technical challenges, right? Like, I don't know if it's possible to do it at this scale. Let me tell you what I'm thinking, like, because, you know, like, the sensitivity of the sensors in cameras varies by manufacturer, right? So to pull this off, you would have to either make sure that all the cars have exactly the same camera, or the same manufacturer, or at least the same sensor, right? Because otherwise the color might be misrecognized. Like, you know, the target red might not be picked up by some cameras, or another shade of red could be picked up by mistake as target red. So this requires calibration, is what I'm saying, right? To be able to pick up, calibration on the sensor, to pick up things with high precision. In the satellite, it works because, well, it's only one satellite, right? Or a small set of satellites, and you have control over the manufacturer, so you can assure this. But in the case of these vehicles that they have deployed everywhere in the world, it's more challenging, right? So I don't know. Maybe it's not that really that feasible, or maybe it is feasible if they can make sure that the color is so far apart from all other commercial colors, which they could do, right, through logistics, that there's no possible room for error, right? That's another way to do it. And I have to think more about this, and I have to create a pipeline to detect this, to see if this is the case. 154 8636, I think. It's a Burnett County Sheriff. I mean, it's strange, right? Because it's not a Fort Bend County, and he's in Fort Bend County. So I don't know. but thinking about I was thinking about the hearing this morning. I think they made a mistake. I'm not sure. I have to check, but I think the judge, because, you know, I told him when he called the docket, I told him I'm here not as an attorney. I'm here on my individual capacity and blah blah blah, right? And then he did the same thing that Telfair did. He told me, don't worry, stay, we're gonna take care of it, right? The same thing, exactly the same phrase. But I think that's a mistake, because in reality, he should not have asked me to stay, because he has no jurisdiction over me as the person, right? So he asked me to stay, he initiated the hearing, and then he proceeded to let the opposing counsel get all these damaging comments into the record. Comments that will be used to discredit me, right, in federal court. But he allowed this to happen, and I'm not a party to this lawsuit, right? And this lawyer used my name, my personal name. He wasn't addressing the company, he was addressing me. So I think that is improper. I think that is misbehavior of the judge, because he's allowing a contentious party to enter comments about the person, that is not even a party to the lawsuit, into a legal record, when the party has already expressed that he's not a party to the lawsuit, and that he's there just to comply with the letter that he received, right? So I don't know. I think that on itself is misbehavior. I think I would make that argument. I don't know, but I'll check with the legal vaccine pipeline. Another random comment. I noticed that behind the, oh, this is interesting, AOC 0090. I mean, it has a lot of zeros. Next to the, what is it called? The restaurant, this restaurant where they usually do this thing with the food. Outback, right? So the Outback that is on I-10 in Katy, close to the. It is close to the Katy Mills. So behind that Outback there is an antenna, right, that I've used before. And is next to an area that is very important, right? It's a neighborhood that has important people. Anyhow, in that area, there is that antenna, right? And I've noticed that they have a second antenna behind it, like around 500 feet behind. I have to check. I don't know if that antenna was there before, but it is there now, right? I mean, I'm talking about cellular antennas. And it seems like the same pattern that we saw in that military-looking area that I just went to today, being February 12th. And it made me wonder, what is that they accomplished with two separate antennas being so close to each other? Right? I mean, it could be that it's two different operators, but like that's not the way it works. Like operators usually co-locate the equipment. I mean, in the same antenna, you could have antennas for 5 or 6 different operators. Right? It's not like there's a tower for T-Mobile and then another tower for Verizon. It doesn't work like that. In the same tower, there's equipment co-located of multiple companies. And because they are so close to each other and that area doesn't have any obstructions, it really doesn't make sense to have 2 antennas that close. You could, whatever you're doing with 2, you can do with 1. But the thought came to my mind that maybe it's because of redundancy. Maybe what they have is that they have a separate cellular network, right? That is completely isolated from the others. Which would make sense, right? In this situation that they are. Which would be, a violation of all the FCC rules and everything. But, I mean, if they have a secret cellular network like that, right? But it's interesting, right? That in those 2 areas, it happens to be the case that 2 antennas are so close to each other. Now, in the other area, it's not 2, it's 3 antennas. They have 3 antennas within 500 feet of each other. So that on itself is interesting. There is a white SUV there. I think it's waiting for me. I'm not sure. No. I mean, it's positioned in such a way that it's just too good to not be, right? Yeah, there is a person inside. Okay. And here's the guy that was following me just like half an hour ago, right? So Alpha Zulu 2 5 Tango Frank, Florida plate. I couldn't get the plate because he exited, but he was following me near the airport, and now he's here. You see? I understand. This is where they change the vehicles. I see. Right. So it's not like he followed me here. He came to return the vehicle and pick up another one. So you see, I'm driving on this parking lot, and this feels like an Uber parking lot. I understand. So that's what they do here. Oh, I see. Yeah, so this is I see. This is basically a vehicle supply. So they come here and they change the vehicle. And that way, it looks like, that's the way they obfuscate their identity, right? I see. Now this one is flagged 2 Delta Victor 1176. See, it's so much so that they have vehicles parked on the street. This is interesting. This is how it works. And of course, this location, because it's next to the 2 highways, right? It's next to I-10 and 99. Right, so wherever I go, they just come here and pick up a new car. And it has the beige containers on the parking lot. Apparently the status right now is 4 containers forming a square, and then a 5th container on the top. That is the status of it right now. But let me tell you what is interesting, what I think is a mistake, right? And I don't know, this might be just me. For example, this one is guarding his license plate, which is Whiskey Tango Victor 7820. So he's making sure I don't see it, right? But I saw it. I imagine that's his personal vehicle, right? That's why he cares. But the mistake I see on this setup is the following. It's obvious, right? These agents, when they come pick up their cars, or I mean the cars that they're gonna work on or with, they have to come here with another car.
500 feet, turn right onto
Right.
East Fernhurst Drive.
They cannot
Turn
teleport.
right onto East Fernhurst Drive.
They cannot teleport to this location, obviously, right? So what this means is that they have to park their cars somewhere. And I imagine these are the cars that are parked on the street, right? Because they don't want to mix their cars with the surveillance cars, right? So this means, this is important. This gives us 2 data points. First, the real cars of the agents, and second, how many they are, right? Like the actual. So let's count them, okay? So first we have Rambo Whiskey Lima 7369, black Kia, it's one.
Stay on East Fernhurst Drive.
Victor Whiskey Jojo 8599, black Acura. Then we have Whiskey Golf Bravo 7863. This is a blue, it doesn't have a brand. Nicole Honduras Victor 3603, gray Acura or silver. X as in X-ray Rambo Mike 8552. It's a Sienna, Toyota Sienna, gray. X as in X-ray Kilo Delta 3591. It's a blue Sonata. Victor January Victor 1061. It's a Honda, gray. Tango Fran Victor 5072, Honda, gray. Victor Lima Jojo 3138, red. Cherokee. X as in X-ray. Two X's as an X-ray. C as in Charlie 8115. It's a white Silverado. Okay. This one is Kilo Mike Tango 0202. This guy is very important, and I'll tell you later why I know that, how I know that. Sam Golf Nicole 7135. Important. It's a black pickup. Tango Lima Bravo 7467. White pickup Tacoma. Papa Charlie Whiskey 6423. Audi silver. X as in X-ray Delta Jojo
Stay on East Fernhurst Drive.
3459. This was flagged by the phone. 3459. It's an X6 BMW white. Tango Zulu Jojo. No, sorry. Tango Zulu January 2841. It's a Mercury gray. Whiskey Delta Frank 8804. Toyota RAV4 black. X as in X-ray Papa Jojo. No, sorry. Papa January 2466. It's a Lincoln or Buick white. Texas dealer temporary Delta Lima Rambo 99504. It's a Kia Soreto. Nicole Kilo January 5543. It's a black Corolla. Whiskey Charlie X as in X-ray 9574. It's a gray Civic. January Mike Delta 9100. It's a Cruise black. Sam Mike sorry, this guy. They want to force me to advance. I'm not going to advance. Sam Mike Kilo 2218 Golf white Volkswagen. The one that wanted me to advance, X as in X-ray, G, January 9072. And here we have Whiskey Tango Victor 7820. Okay, continue. Silverado, Bravo, January 34645, Silverado, gray. X as in xylophone, or I don't know, X-ray, Delta, Whiskey 4741, silver. Lima, Jojo, Honduras 6564, Colorado, Chevrolet. And Kilo, Honduras, Sam 0632. That's Toyota RAV4 silver. Okay, now we're gonna count them because this is an important data point. So we have 1, 2, 3, the guy hiding on the back, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. So, I think, this is a hunch, right? I have to run all these vehicles through the pipeline to see. But my hunch is that it takes about 25 agents to staff this point, right? And of course, they have one of these points on each one of the intersections of the highways. And that's how they rotate the vehicles, right? Practically real time, I see. But that's the weakness, right? That they have to either park their own vehicles inside of the parking lot, which puts them personally in the conspiracy, or they have to park them outside, which makes it visible, right?
Now turn left onto Provincial.
Like in this case. So I don't know. I think this is probably like a gold mine. All right. Yes, another note on this thing with the academy. So I'm at the academy outdoors, right? I entered the store because I wanted to buy something, and in the store there could be maybe 8 customers, maybe, right? And this parking lot belongs to the store. There's nothing else. Like there's nothing else in this that is served by this parking lot, right? So if you have a car parking here, it's because it's either an employee or a customer. Like there's no other option. Like there's nothing else in here, and you will see in the video, right? Like there's nothing else where these people could walk, because this is next to the 2 highways. There's no sidewalk. But what's interesting is like there's maybe 10 employees inside and maybe 10 customers. But look at how many cars are in the parking lot. I'm gonna count them, okay? So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 6, 7, 8, 9, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 7, 8, 9, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85. So there's 85 vehicles, 86 vehicles inside of the parking lot and 26 outside. So it's outside on the street, which are the personal vehicles of the 25 agents, right? So it's 100, 86 and 26, 112. So it's 112 vehicles and there's maybe 20 people inside, right? So the question is, where are the other, assuming one person per car, right? Which is the worst case scenario because there could be more than one person per car. So for example, these 25 cars on the road could really be transporting 50 agents, right? If you put 2 agents in each car to come to work. If they're carpooling, they can bring 50 agents with 25 cars, right? But there's 112 cars in total. So that there's a problem. There's 80 people missing at least, right? Minimum. And this also gives us an idea that each agent uses at least 4 cars, or more or less 4 cars, right? So the ratio of, I'm just trying to determine the mix, right, of this formula of them for avoiding detection, or for obfuscating the entities with all these license plates. So it seems like the ratio is 4-1. So when there's a day of work, a shift, each agent is tasked with controlling 4 cars and rotating them, right? And that way it looks like organic traffic, but in fact it's the same person following you all day, right? Or in that area at least. I imagine they have it split by grids, like by, if when I went to the airport, I mean, this guy followed me from Katy to the airport, and then he came back to return the vehicle. But it happened to be the case that I came back to Katy and I saw the vehicle, right? And he's probably close to me, but in a different vehicle now, so I can't distinguish him. You see, that's the trick. But what we should be looking for, I mean, now talking more about detection of this, is stores that are marking the index. Academy is marking the index, all the stores, right? So stores that are marked in the index that have big parking lots and that are located next to 2 major highways, right? Because to make this useful, they have to be able to exit on either direction. Otherwise, the agents would be trapped in a single direction, right? Like they could only take, say, I-10 south. I-10 east in this case, right? I-10 east. If it was only on one, if they didn't have the other exit, right, the 99, but because they have the 2 highways next to it, they can make a U-turn and then take I-10 west as well if they need to, right? So they can take 99, make a U-turn, and then take I-10 west. So I mean, it seems like it's something that is easy to detect as well. But now we know that at least they have something like 25, maybe between 25 and 50, right, agents in that, working on that location, and that they're moving around 120 vehicles among those agents, right, alone. Good morning. Today is February 13, 2026. My name is Reynaldo J. Aguiar Marcano, and this is the second part of demo D108. So this will be D108-2. So here I just want to record a few observations, right, that came to me after I recorded the demo, the first part yesterday. So I'll try to, I mean, I don't have the talking points with me, but I'll try to go by heart. So the first thing is, let's talk about the informant, right? So the informant, so yesterday during that demo, the D108, I went to pick up messages in an area near the airport, okay? And when I went there, I found some interesting things, right? Which are discussed in that demo, and I'm not going to, to repeat. I think here. But the thought is that two things, right? One thing that happened yesterday was kind of interesting, that never had happened before, is that say there is an interceptor there, and there is no security guard, right? So he has no reason to be there. He was just there listening to what I was saying. In fact, let's get the plate. So it's Nicole Michael Bravo 2927. It's a Ford Focus gray. So anyhow, and you can see that at this time it's 4:50 a.m. right? The security guard arrives at 6 a.m. So he's gonna be there supposedly for an hour, right, waiting. And this is a subdivision with 90 houses. Like, what could he possibly be doing there, right? So anyhow, yes. So yes. So the thing that happened that was interesting. Oh, I forgot. Let me stop here at the office of Phil Denning, the church, for a second. Okay. Yes, so yeah, sorry about that. I forgot to do something. Yes, so what happened that was interesting is that I was there picking up messages, right? Mostly. I was sending some messages too, but I was picking up mostly. So the last message I received was a message from the informant asking me how did I find this place? I mean, the place where I was, right? And this is interesting for two reasons. Like, because my system is an asynchronous system. Like the communication systems I built are asynchronous, and I did this for security. And I've talked about this before, right? But so my communication with the informant is asynchronous, right? Like I send a message and I might get a response when the next time I go out, right? If I get a response, and vice versa. So it has never happened before that he had, that he had said something with such low latency, right? Like I was in that place for maybe 3 minutes and he knew where I was, right? And not only that, he knew that the place was important. Obviously, because if he's asking me how did I find that place, it's because he knows it's important and he knows I'm there, right? And this is an important observation for me because it tells me the level of access that he has, right? He has to be super high level to have access to my location almost real time. I mean, high level within Diosdado Cabello's organization, right? Or the military in Venezuela. I don't know exactly which, I don't know what it's called, division, component, I don't know what it's called. I don't know exactly where is that he works, but whatever that is, it's he's probably very high level, right? Because or has a lot of access, because he could see my location almost real time. So that is interesting. It is also interesting because it means that he knows that the location is important. Like he's aware of this location specifically, right? And that's also interesting on itself. Yes, so that's one thing that's important. The other thing that he told me yesterday in those messages is that Larry Ryan is actually the main commander of the operation in Lake Bonny States. I mean the boots on the ground operation. Sorry, my English is particularly bad this morning because I just woke up and I don't know. To my brain, it takes like a few minutes to because English is not my first language. So after I wake up, usually my English speaking skills are not as on point. But anyhow, apparently, right, Larry Ryan is the main commander. Imagine that, and that explains, of course. I mean, this is the conclusion I'm drawing right from this comment. But I think it explains why the attack with the water bill, because that's what he controls. I mean, whatever you do, right, for a living, is the thing that you're more comfortable doing, right? Because he works with utilities. If he needs to fabricate a weapon, the most natural way for him to do it is with that, right? He got me. And this also got me. Yeah, they're desperate, man. They really are. Okay, so so Larry Ryan, according to the Venezuelan informant, is the guy, right? Which is good because I already added his wife to the federal lawsuit, right? So I mean that is just a confirmation signal, right? At this point, I mean I added his wife before the informant told me this yesterday. I added his wife, I think, like 2 weeks ago, and that is the complaint that Judge Hittner struck from the record, which is interesting because, once this is investigated and confirmed, it would show collusion between Judge Hittner and Larry Ryan and his wife. Right, so I think it's from a legal point of view, it's a tremendous amount of ammunition for me. Sorry, I'm just minding the traffic. So that's the second thing, right? Larry Ryan is the guy at Lake Bonny States, which is interesting, right? Because I mean, Robert Mueller being there, I mean, I know he was moved, like supposedly, right? Like I don't know, a month ago. Well, that also kind of confirms that, right? Like I guess the command structure has changed because they had to move people, right? Which is another confirmation signal. What else? Okay, next let's talk about the legal thing. So in that case of the HOA, of the same neighborhood where Larry Ryan lives, right? And Robert Mueller and all these people, Phil Denning. So the Lake Bonny States HOA versus my company, which is the publisher of the books that exposes their crimes. So in that lawsuit, right, that's the hearing that happened yesterday, that they were trying to find me personally in contempt, but then they aborted the operation, right? But something interesting happened. because I know them, right? I know them. I know how they operate at this point, and I know that the only thing that they know how to do is to enter void orders into the record, right? So I woke up this morning and I checked the docket. When I checked the docket, surprise. I mean, not surprise. I expected this, right? So they entered an order yesterday, and this is amazing, right? For multiple reasons. First, it confirms the modus operandi of this network, right? Like they enter void orders, and that's the only thing that they do, right? That's how they operate. So it just validates everything that I've been saying. So now this new void order, basically they found the company in contempt. So it basically is an order. They enter an order signed by the judge, finding the company in contempt, which, you know, like the judge said in the hearing that, I mean, he didn't address so what the lawyer said, what the attorney said in the hearing, if you hear the transcript, is that he was making a motion for a show cause hearing, right? And then the judge scheduled that hearing. But there was no argument about, you know, motion for contempt. I mean, he had filed the motion for contempt, but that's not what he talked about yesterday. I mean, the attorney. The motion was filed before, but the attorney did not talk about that yesterday. Right? The attorney talked about his request for a show cause hearing in 45 days or so, right? Which is the one that was scheduled for March 24. But then, after the hearing, they entered the order for contempt, finding the company in contempt, right? Which, you know, it's a void order for multiple reasons. First of all, the service is invalid. Second of all, the company did not have due process because there was no hearing. The company did not have an attorney, and the judge said that he would not proceed without the company having an attorney, but then yet he entered the order, right? So this violates due process. It violates the rules of procedure because they didn't serve the company ever, right? But the most interesting part is what the order says. Within that order, they injected a sentence in the first paragraph that says that the company may be served at the Lake Point State address or wherever it might be found. Like, this is crazy. They are, with the void order, attempting to rewrite the rules of procedure. How do you determine how a company is found? Like, they're wording this as if it was a fugitive, you know, like if it was a person on the run. That language is used when somebody cannot be found, a person, right? A person is on the run, then they put this language in the order. But this is a corporation that has a registered agent in Delaware, and everybody knows who the registered agent is, right? So the company is not a fugitive, it's not even a person. What does that mean where the company may be found, right? So the reason why they're injecting this language into this void order is to try to justify the void service, right? To try to legitimize it in some way, right? That they did not commit a crime by creating this sham process in this way. But of course, the void is order. Whatever they can write anything in there. That void has no. It's void ab initio, right? Like it's not. It doesn't have any validity at all. It's null. So it doesn't really matter. And you know, it doesn't really bother me either because at this point, I mean, they have entered void orders to seize my child. You think I'm gonna be bothered by this? It's silly, really. So you see that red sedan there? He's just waiting, right? I mean, he could pass, but he won't pass. He wants to scan my plate. Yes. So sorry about that. So yes. So they entered that a new void order, but this is, I mean, it's a gift to me because it adds immediately the the Roberts Markel Weinberg Haley Butler PC attorneys to the conspiracy, because they're using the same TTP, right? They're using the same MO as the other firms, right? So they can be tied by that. And like the most dangerous thing is the observation of my former partner being in knowledge of the legal strategy of this law firm, right? Which works for Robert Mueller and Phil Denning and Larry Ryan. So that is the most dangerous thing, that she, right, being involved in the other case where the child was kidnapped, is in knowledge of what this other law firm that is supposedly disconnected from her and from William Cal Adams and Terry Adams and Susan Brown and Josh Telfair is doing, right? So that is amazing. Yeah, let's get this one. Has the face, so we can see the face. You see how he turns on the other direction when the car approaches? You see that, right? Yes. That's nice. So anyhow, we have that covered, right? So now let's talk about satellites. On the observation of yesterday of that container rental place, the shipping containers, right? So this guy is Victor Kilo Delta 7236. It's a silver Corolla or golden, I don't know. Yeah, let's visit our friends at the academy. As you can see, even at this time of the morning, right, 5 a.m., they have a bunch of cars in the parking lot. I mean, these are the cars that they couldn't move last night, right? And this is an important for me to get them because I will mark them as, non-identifiable, right? So I have to let the system know that these are basically swappable vehicles that they use. So I need to get the plates. And the more vehicles, the more swappable vehicles that I get, the higher the precision will be on the other set, right? So I need to ablate them basically from the pipeline that looks for the identities. That's the goal. It's like eliminating noise in a way, right? So these are the ones they use to create noise, obviously. I mean, some of them, right? The ones that they left here last night. And also, I wanted to tell you, there's an interesting pattern. So I don't know. Now with the knowledge again yesterday, I did some experiments. It seems to be places with big parking lots that are located next to a storage facility, like a self-storage. Case in example would be the 24-hour fitness that is next to the self-storage facility and the Best Buy on 99 and FM 1093, right? And the other condition is that it's next to two major highways, right? So that one is next to 99 and 1093. And it's the same. It's a parking lot where they swap the vehicles to be able to rotate them, right? So that seems to be the pattern. I mean, a pattern, right? Self-storage combined with big parking lots, and I'm gonna tell you some that I identified already. There's a movie theater on the other side of that 24-hour fitness. I think it's called AMC something. So it's next to the Kelsey Siebel Clinic on 99 and FM 1093, but on the other side. That is the same, right? It's also a vehicle swapping facility. There's another one that got flagged this way, which was, I can't recall this academy, the 24-hour fitness gym. I can't recall. There's another one in this area that got flagged in that way. I mean, there's several conditions, right? Like it's marked in the index, it has high score, it's next to 2 highways, it's next to a self-storage facility, or within 500 feet, right? And it's next to a cellular antenna. I don't know, like there's like 5 or 6 conditions that it meets, that they have to meet, right? And they get flagged in this way. And there's several like that, and this academy is one of them, right? So that means that it's detectable. Now, on the topic of the satellite images and all that, it definitely seems to be a thing. Like, my level of confidence is growing, by the hour on this. And I started working on a pipeline for this, and it's still early on, but it flagged something. It flagged a series of companies that do what they call self-pack and ship. I don't know, like I don't know how to describe that, but it's like those are companies that ship to your house a small pod container. It's like a mini container that is probably the size of a truck, right? And they ship this thing to your house, and they put it in front of your house, and you pack your house, you put it in that container, and then they come and pick up the container, right? And ship it to wherever you want, and then you unpack it. So those companies, I mean, not all of them, but most of them are flagged in the index. And it's still early, but there are certain important residences that are marked in the index that have these spots outside of the residence in satellite imagery. So it is possible that it's the same, right? It's a pixel that they can chip and move to mark things that are happening. And I have to tell you, I've seen this first person I would say at the peak of the conflict with, I think that was probably year 2023, right? So this was on the key opinion leaders era. So this was the conflict with WebMD, right, with Briscoe. At the peak of that conflict, this happened where they shipped 2 of these containers to 2 homes very close to my home in Valleyside Drive. And this should be visible in historic imagery, right? So it's possible that that those are markers, right? That they can move to mark significance, operational significance, right? That is temporary. So, so an important agent is living in this house this week or something like that, right? Or, something dangerous is happening today here, right? Or around here. Things like that. On that, also on the same note of satellite imagery, it was picked up by the computer vision pipeline that over the last 2 days, so on February 11th and February 12th, there's been multiple occasions in which my car has been in the highway in close proximity to a truck that it has an attachment that is green. Case in example, 2 days ago, that guy that was towing a green Camaro, I don't know if you would remember. He's recording the cameras. I said, this guy looks like he's from Venezuela and specifically from Maracaibo, right? That one. And yesterday, a couple of instances on the 8th, one on the 8th and another one on I-10. It could be that it's the same, right? So because now they have more difficulty tracking the vehicle because they can't do what they were doing before, or because they see risk. So what they do is that they put this truck with an attachment ahead of me, and then they track it with a satellite. Right? If the attachment is a particular shade of color that they pre-program to be tracked, and that is kind of unique, is easy to distinguish, then they don't really have to be following me that close. So it's possible that that's what they're doing. And in the case of that guy with the Camaro, towing the Camaro, it was interesting because he followed me in 2 different highways in a space of 10 minutes, and I made a wrong turn somewhere, so he should have been ahead of me for like 10 minutes. But when I rejoined that highway, he was again ahead of me, right? So that means that he had to stop and wait until I rejoined, right? So that's interesting. So it could be, right? It could be that it's just a mobile marker that they're moving around because they are tracking the thing with a satellite. Now, on that note, I've been doing some research, with Gemini and stuff, and this thing that they're doing with the satellite has a weakness, which is that there are gaps, observational gaps. Like there's period of times during the day where they have no visibility with the satellite, right? So I think what I have to do is adapt my schedule to go out on these times where they have no visibility with the satellite, because that will force them to use surveillance on the ground, and this will expose more agents, right? And more important agents probably, and maybe we'll discover something. So that's what I will do. I will adapt my schedule to what I believe could be their observational gaps with the satellite. I mean the Chinese, right? Now, these satellites, the ones that this is something, because I said something in the demo before, right, that I thought, that I said something like, I don't know exactly what is the precision in degrees, in angular degrees, that they can detect with a satellite for the rotation of an object. And the informant told me that it's 24 degrees, right? So I started looking for this, and I believe the number he gave me was a little bit off. I don't think, I'm not gonna get into this, but I think it's not 24, I think it's 22.2, 22.5, because that would lead to 16 combinations, which seems more natural to me as an engineer, right? So I look for satellites that match this. Which satellites have a precision, an angular precision at the Houston, Texas latitude of 22.5 degrees. And it happens to match a set of low orbit satellites that are from Finland. And Finland is a huge operator. I mean, Liana Technologies has a headquarters in Finland, right? And that's not the only reason, it's just a data point, but Finland is a huge operational base because it's proximity to Russia, physical proximity, right? So I mean, that sounds about right. It's probably that, right? I would guess it's that. So I'm gonna assume it's that, and I'm gonna adapt my schedule to do whatever I have to do during these observational gaps, right? To ablate that capability of them, to see what happens, to see if their precision drops, to see what other thing they have, right? So that's the plan. I think there was something else I wanted to mention. Can't recall. I can't recall. If I do, I'll add to this recording. Oh, I remember what I wanted to tell you. Yes, the question the informant asked me, right? How I found that place. I didn't find the place. It's not like I went looking for this, mesquite. Like, no. What happened was, I programmed the pipeline to, plan for the communication, right? For what I do, right? To communicate. But the planning has certain bias, right? And I could pick any place really, but I asked the pipeline to pick places that are interesting, right? That have high scores, that have certain geo features, because this gives me the opportunity to drive by and observe, right? And see what is that they have there, like why they pick that place. So it's kind of a dual purpose, right? I communicate, I use the antenna, but I could use many. There's too many antennas. I could use any, right? But or I could communicate with the other channels that don't require antenna. But as I'm doing this, I bias the pipeline to pick places that are interesting, right? That could be more interesting, like this one, right? And it happened to be. So when I get there, I don't know why it's interesting, right? Like I didn't see the debug output, but when I get there, I observe and I saw things visually that I'm not gonna say what they are, that were a giveaway, right? That this was a nuclear place, like a nuclear site, right? Not literally, but like this is probably one of the most important places of this network in Houston, the place where I went yesterday. And so when I get there, I see these things, and I say, "Look, wait a second. I'm gonna see what is in here, right?" And as I start driving, it becomes obvious. Right? So that's the answer. It's not like the pipeline, knew the answer. It knew the place was interesting, but it requires, human observation to figure this out, right? To discern why they picked it. So that's what happened.